Am I the a-hole for refusing to let my sister and her kids stay with me? My sister, 27 female, and I, 29 female, have not spoken in 8 years. I was engaged and planning my wedding when I found out she was having an affair with my ex-fiancé. She was actually pregnant at the time, which is the only reason I found out before the wedding. He admitted he would have kept going the way things had been if it wasn't for her pregnancy. I told her then that she was dead to me, and she better never need me for anything because I would not be there for her. We lost our dad a year after that all happened, and our mom died last year. My ex ended up screwing her over royally, and she's now in a huge pile of debt, homeless and jobless. She reached out to me and asked if she and her kids could live with me for a while. I said no. She begged. I told her that my stance had not changed on the matter, and she needed to go somewhere else because I would never ever help her. She ended up with our aunt in another state. My aunt has since been pissed at me for turning her away, saying it's petty to hold it against her and to not help family, especially family with kids. I told my aunt that she ceased being family when she did what she did to me. That she was young, yes, but she was my sister and supposed to be my friend too, and none of it was enough to not do something like that to me. That she would have let me marry him while screwing him behind my back. My aunt told me it was no reason to tell her she deserved everything she got, which I never said to her. I didn't even curse at her as much as I would love to. My sister also tried reaching out again and asking for cash. I just ignored her, which pissed my aunt off even more. Am I the a-hole? Now for the top comment. Not the a-hole. You cut her off, and she's made no attempt to reach out and mend fences unless she needs something from you. That is not behavior of someone who is trying to make up. Seems like you made a good call not getting caught up in her problems again. Also, congrats on finding out dude was such a loser before the wedding day. People who only reach out when they are in need are incredibly toxic. I don't even think she's sorry. She's just looking for an easy way out by running to her sister. Not the a-hole. It's her situation that changed, not her personality. Perfectly said. And given that it has been 8 years and Opie used the word kids, plural, it doesn't sound like she was sorry or had regrets at all. She stayed and had more kids with him. Not the a-hole. You don't have to allow her back in your life or help her. Your aunt is pissed because she would have preferred that you spend your own money on sis, but didn't have the spine to hold her accountable like you are. Live your best life and be free. Not the a-hole. Where was the supposed obligation to family loyalty when she was banging your fiancé? She didn't give a damn then. You shouldn't now. Luckily, her getting knocked up helped you dodge a bullet, but you don't owe her anything. Next story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not allowing my niece and nephew's stepdad to work with me? My brother died 5 years ago. My niece was 6 and my nephew was 7. I see my niece and nephew often, and I have court-granted access to them, which I sought after their marriage because their mom and John attempted to cut me out of my niece and nephew's lives. There has basically been no contact between us adults since. The only contact is when I pick up the kids for our time together, which includes one overnight a month. Anyway, that's just a little background, don't want to go on all day. But to add a few more details, my brother and I owned a small business before he died. He left his share between his kids, in my trust, until they're both 18. Then they can choose to keep it that way until they're older, or they can take responsibility then. The kids know about the business, they know they own half of it. So does John. John lost his job during COVID and has struggled to find another one. He asked me back in October to hire him and let him take the role the kids would have one day. I said no. The kids' mom told me I should be helping them out, and that I owe John everything because he's taking over my brother's place in the kids' lives, and it's only right he be welcome into a business that will someday be partly the kids. I told her John could not work for me, and that was it. He did find another job, but the company folded in March and ended up back at square one. He then approached me again, and my niece and nephew told me John and their mom have been pressuring them over it, wanting them to get me to give him the job, and that they didn't want to say that, but could I pretend they have so they wouldn't get in trouble. So that's what I have been doing, but I keep saying no. The two of them are still pissed and have called me a witch in the day hall and say they could sue me to claim rights over the kids' half of the business. They told me John belongs in a family business because he's family. I told them he's not my family, nor was he my brother's family, and the kids will be able to make whatever decision they want when they're adults with their share. But today is when I decide. A friend of mine, who I confided in, told me I should consider giving him a job for the kids' sake, and seems like it would be the best thing to do in the kids' best interest. Makes me wonder if I'm the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Maybe they shouldn't have cut you off if they wanted to be a family, but it means helping them. Also, I have a sneaking feeling that all they're really trying to do is get their hands on the kids' inheritance. I seriously doubt that John is going to be an awesome employee. I suspect that if you do hire him, he is going to do what he can to take advantage of the family business to get paid for doing nothing. He can then continue to leverage the fact that firing him would be hurting the kids. Don't let him or his wife anywhere near those kids' inheritance. The kids will thank you for safeguarding their father's legacy for them. Not Dayhall. There's no guarantee that John will remain in the family. If you and your brother worked it out legally that in case of his death that you'd keep his half in trust, then this is how it works. To cover your bases, however, it's time to get an attorney involved. Please go see one before it's too late. They sound like they're becoming serious, and that they want their money that's in the business. They feel entitled to it. An attorney on their side can try to make that argument. Go see yours to ensure you're safe, then strike first. Have your attorney send a strongly worded letter to cease the harassment. I second this. To keep you and the business safe, please see an attorney. Also document every time they ask you, their threats of suing you, and how they're pressuring/manipulating the children for their own agenda. Not Dayhall. Let's say you hire the guy, and he does a piss-poor job. You won't be able to fire him because family and taking food out of the kids' mouths. Stay clear of that can of worms. Now for the next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my sister to stop being perv and keep her thoughts to herself? I, 24 male, got a 4-year-old son Jackson. My girlfriend hasn't been around since he was over 2, so it's only me and him. He's super affectionate with everyone. It gives me like a million hugs and kisses every day. Lol. Sometimes at night he comes to my room because he's scared or just misses me, and I let him sleep with me. He doesn't do it a lot, usually when he has a bad dream. But we just moved to another apartment this month, and he's still scared of sleeping alone in his new room, even with his nightlight on. Most nights he comes to my room to sleep. My sister came over on Friday so kids could have a movie night. It got late, so they slept on the couch. I put Jackson in his room, then went to bed. He woke me up in the night to ask if he could sleep in my bed, so I lifted the covers and let him sleep there. In the morning, my sister came to my room, asked if I wanted to order breakfast for the kids. Then she saw Jackson sleeping with me. She didn't say anything, but when I was in the kitchen, she told me that was really inappropriate. I asked what was, and she said that Jackson was sleeping with me in my bed. And I need to be careful because people will get the wrong idea. Then with me always hugging him and letting him give me kisses on the cheek. Seriously? WTF? I asked her what was wrong with it. And to her it didn't seem right that I'm his dad, not his mom, so it's weird. Like even her husband doesn't do that with their son. She also pointed out our dad wasn't like that either with me. Kinda why I'm trying to be different with my son. To me it just sounded crazy. It just bothered me a lot that her mind would even go there over my son literally just sleeping in my room because he's 4 years old and scared of the dark. I called her out and said stop being a freaking pervert just because her husband acts different with their kids and to mind her business next time. She got quiet after and we didn't talk. Later she did text me some crap, that she's sorry for looking out for us and expressing what she felt was not appropriate or something like that. I don't know why she went to my mom about it. Because now she thinks I shouldn't call my sister stuff like that, when she just felt it's weird I'm affectionate with my son that way, than letting him sleep with me. My sister feels I should apologize for snapping and calling her that, but I don't see why I'd need to. Am I the a-hole? Now for the comments. Not the a-hole. She's sexualizing your relationship with your son, and she needed to be told to mind her own business. So what that your 4-year-old son climbs into and occasionally sleeps in your bed? It's a safe zone. And so what if he kisses you and hugs you a lot? That's what little kids do. She needs to accept that no 2 kids are the same. And also needs to remember that he only has 1 parent, not 2. And she needs a serious wake-up call that men can be affectionate and close without it being sexual in any way. If hugging and kissing one's mom isn't sexual, then acting the same with one's dad should be viewed the same. If her son hugs and kisses her, this isn't some opposite sex boundary she has. She just thinks adult males can't be trusted with children, and it's inappropriate for them to be affectionate. I wonder what happens when her kids have a bad dream and want to sleep in mom and dad's bed. Sorry, babe, you gotta sleep on the couch. Can't have you getting too close to our son. It's people like her that continues to perpetuate the idea that fathers and sons shouldn't be affectionate with one another. Disgusting for her to sexualize your family relationship. And I'm proud of you, Opie, for making better changes for your son. Not a-hole. It just really pissed me off that her mind would even go to something gross like that. You're right to be pissed. I would too. Don't apologize. She should feel bad. You're being a good father for your son. I'm thankful every day that my father and I's dynamic was similar to you and your son's. I too got scared a lot as a kid, and my dad would always welcome me to sleep or cuddle next to him. Based on your post, your son is really lucky to have a dad like you. Yeah, my dad and I aren't close, so I wanted it to be different with mine, even more since his mom's not around. Last story is titled, Am I the a-hole for not wanting father-in-law's money and instead wanting the house my husband's grandma left him? My husband's grandma died in early 2000s. She owned a tiny house with no mortgage. Immediately after her death, I think before the funeral, my brother-in-law and his then girlfriend moved into the house. My father-in-law is the executor of grandma's will, but to this day has never filed the paperwork to probate the will. My brother-in-law and his now wife and their 2 kids continue to live in this house for free. My husband has asked my father-in-law several times over the years about this house and who owns it, and every time he would get angry and either say don't worry about it or I own it. My husband and I have long suspected that grandma left all or part ownership of the house to him, and that's why father-in-law hasn't probated the will. This house has been a major source of contention with the family, and is the primary reason my husband has no contact with brother-in-law. Other reasons too, but this is the big one. Brother-in-law and his wife are in their 40s and have never paid rent. They go on vacations and have a BMW. My brother-in-law has every video game console and toy gadget you could imagine. My husband confronted his dad again about the house, and surprisingly, he admitted grandma left the house to both my husband and brother-in-law, and immediately offered us money to buy my husband out of the house. He got very nasty and argumentative with my husband about the house's value and refused to get a CMA. They tentatively agreed upon a low number, but my husband told him he was going to get a CMA. We've talked about it, and I don't want to take his dad's money. Father-in-law's plan is to buy us out of the house with his own money, guilted my husband that he's going to be hurting by doing this, and in return, we would sign away our rights to the house. Additionally, we got the CMA, and the house is worth significantly more than the value my father-in-law is giving. So we would get less than half the value of the house, and my brother-in-law would get the full value. This does not seem fair to me. Also, my father-in-law said he would be deducting the money he gives us from our portion of his estate. So now we are losing out twice. My father-in-law thinks I'm the a-hole because I'm the one who has made all this an issue, and my husband wants what's fair and sees my side, but thinks it would be easier to just take the money. I don't think I'm the a-hole because I want my father-in-law to do things properly and probate the will, and deed it to my husband and brother-in-law to sell or for him to buy us out of the house. Not the a-hole and hire a lawyer. Now. They're trying to screw you out of a lot of money. Not the a-hole and so this. Father-in-law has completely failed in his legal obligations, which would be very clearly defined in law. As a result, he should be removed as probate ASAP. As part owner, your husband is entitled to rent for the last 20-odd years. Just get a lawyer ASAP, and do not sign anything or take anything. Husband is entitled to back rent and can probably be named the executor, or whatever your state calls it, of the probate since father-in-law failed to execute his duties. Call a lawyer ASAP. Not the a-hole. Sounds like it's time to visit a lawyer. I know that's going to cause problems, but your father-in-law is not doing his job and creating a problem. Not the a-hole. Consult an attorney. Father-in-law has fiduciary responsibility to probate in timely manner. Contact a lawyer to review your options, but be careful. especially about letting your in-laws know that you are doing so. Depending on where you live and lots of other details, it's possible that too much time has passed for you to contest how the estate was handled. You may still have other options, but those might involve directly suing your in-laws. Even if you are morally and legally entitled to those options, consider whether the emotional costs to your husband are more important.